What up, what up, what up, everybody? Wow. Chelsea win 3-0 against Wolves. Very, 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 very nice performance from Chelsea overall. And we're gonna have a fun stream today. We got some good data to talk about. We got some good numbers to talk about. We got some fun tactical things to talk about. We got a lot going on, is how I would describe it. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. I can't lie to you. I'm pretty excited. So Chelsea beat Wolves 3-0. And it was a spanking. Like 3.3 to 0.2 is what Fought Bob have it as now. FB Ref have it as 3.4 to 0.2. Mark R Stats has it 3.5 to 0.1. McClockbot has it 3.7 to 0.1. Like, I honestly think this like vaguely 3.5 to 0.1 or 0.2 is complimentary to Wolves. Like, they were worse than that, and Chelsea were better than that. But I thought Chelsea were really good in this game. I think there were a lot of people in the first half who were real angsty, probably unwarranted, but we'll talk about it. So Chelsea played kind of the same set of lineups that they've been playing for some time now, where Enzo Maresca has decided, like, nope, we are actually going to do A team, B team, Champions League, Premier League, and the only guys who are going to pretty regularly play in both are Sanchez, Caicedo, and João Pedro and Cucurella. Those are the four that, like, you're playing in both most of the time. Neto's only playing in one. Garnacho's only playing in one. Steve's only playing in one. Gittins is only playing in one. And the center backs are swapping kind of week to week. We see Chalobah Fofana return after the dominant defensive display against Spurs, which was very nice. And Gusto comes back in for James. I really thought James was going to start after Maresca said, like, the whole Reece James can play 3 times in a week now. I was like, he's going to try and prove it, and I don't want you to do that. Wolves set up with their interim manager, 5-3-2, like, very conservative to defend. Not unsurprising. And the first half, I think a lot of people thought it was very stale. And I don't think that's a horrible opinion. I thought Chelsea were probably a little bit slow to move the ball. But, like, when you play a team who is so content to sit super deep in their shell, like, Wolves really showed no interest at all in breaking out. They had 5 box touches. They had like 40 passes in the opposition half. Just they did not show a ton of interest in attacking. It's good that you are able to, like, okay, let's get the shot volume up and let's give nothing in transition. I think one of the things that sometimes is not my favorite about Maresca is I think he can be a little bit slow to up the risk profile, where he will let the game stay this, like, stable, steady, we're not going to give up a lot in transition, but we're maybe not going to create as much as we could either, for too long before he's like, okay, let's get another attacker on, let's push another player higher in the build, whatever. But I think he got the balance pretty right for this one, where as much as it's 11 shots and it's 1 XG, a lot of that is one big chance for Garnacho, half of it, and they didn't create a whole lot else, but they did have a lot of, like, pretty decent box entries that then don't turn into good shots, to the point that I was not super worried. And I think one of the things that was really interesting was when you play against the back 5, it's very difficult to get your wingers on the ball facing forward, is the whole story, right? But I thought they actually did a very good job of narrowing Wolves' back 3, particularly in the final third, and getting 2v1 on the last player when they could deliver. And that's exactly how the Gusto goal comes about, where Delap occupies the center back, João Pedro's in an advanced position, so it's like, oh, they have decent numbers, and now you have Gusto is arriving between two players and Neto's arriving between a player, and it's very difficult to pick up both of those players as the wingback. But I mean, I thought like it was fine. Wolves are pretty terrible. In the second half, as soon as Chelsea get the goal, the game is over because now Wolves cannot defend so deep. They have clearly no ideas in possession. They have clearly no idea how to defend higher up the pitch. And as soon as they get the goal, Chelsea just absolutely rip them the rest of the way. Estêvão comes on and is very good again. Garnacho sets up another goal for Pedro Neto off a transition that was like really, really flawless. And I have no complaints about how Chelsea managed the game. I think there's some kind of like funny big picture things, like table wise. Chelsea are third on expected goal difference by FBref. They're fourth on expected points. Like the league is very condensed this year. Particularly like second to 13th on actual points. I guess because City won, it's a little bit bigger. But between third and 13th is 5 points, right? So very, very condensed. But Chelsea's expected goal difference is looking a lot better now. Like if we go look at the sexy spreadsheet, the difference in the attack is like almost entirely gone. It's like a fifth of a goal. The defense is about the same, mostly driven by these last two games being very strong. It again, like you don't want to overweight too heavily to two really bad performances, but it is kind of at a point where like if the United game you don't take the red card, right, and so like it ends up an even expected goal difference game. And Brighton ends up where it was when you were winning, which is like a +1. All of a sudden, we're kind of talking about a team that like maybe looks a little bit better than last year, maybe is improving. Like there's worlds where Chelsea have 24, 25 points right now, right? Even the Brentford game, they concede the late equalizer late. All of a sudden, you're on 22. You're tied for second. You've got the United game is what it is, and yes, there are other games where Chelsea have been probably fortunate, like Liverpool and whatever. But there's not crazy worlds where they're touching distance to top, and they're thereabouts. But four wins out of 5 in the league, like this is, I think, what you could ask for. And we talked about this a few weeks ago, kind of looking at the fixture list of. You're going to have to rack up a lot of wins in this period. And it's being able to do this with like the injuries that you've had and the rotation you've had. And like also a bunch of guys just not playing that well. Like I don't really think that Chelsea have played that well throughout this whole stretch, right? Which is kind of a weird one to balance. As a couple of people are mentioning in the chat, no Cole Palmer throughout this stretch, who like the wording is like maybe he comes back to play a little bit against Burnley. We'll see about that. But I think this largely bodes well. I think on my last stream I said the alarm bells aren't ringing in relation to the Sunderland game. The alarm bells aren't ringing, but like the guy is maybe starting to go up the tower to go ring the bell. He's like walking back down now. Like he's at the bottom kind of waiting again. I think this is okay. I think the Christmas period is going to be very, very difficult for this team. I think it's not super well suited to like game. But we will see. Some other players that I wanted to shout out and talk about that I thought had noteworthy performances. Let's talk about Garnacho. Let's talk about Garnacho because I'm going to take a victory lap and say like I was just obviously right about what he is and what he isn't as a player. Like, do I want to go crazy about fairly low minutes total so far? But he's played 5 90s. He's played 590s. He has, I think, across all competitions, he's got, this is not including the Benfica one, he's got 5 goals and assists. He's putting up, and off the back of that, he's got like almost 4 expected goals or expected assists. Like, he's just obviously very good, and he does things that other players in this team don't do. He is so good moving off the ball. He showed more passing chops in that game than I was perhaps expecting. I mean, if you look across all of it, like 8 box touches, great. 1 pass into the final third, whatever. Where's number 1 in terms of progression by carries, number 3 in terms of progression by passes? Like, where's the McClockbot one? Garnacho, like, huge progressive distance, huge progressive receptions, 13 progressive receptions, 8 box entries. Like, this is all tremendously valuable stuff for a team. And he doesn't need 8,000 touches to do it. Like, he gets a lot of touches for a winger in this game, like something like 55 touches, something like that. 57 touches. That's a lot for a winger. But I thought he is such a useful balance as an off-ball mover that I think it's really, really nice. And I think a thing that made me really happy is a lot of people have I had a tweet bang a little bit yesterday that was like was the Moneyball meme. Why do we like Garnacho? Because he gets in the box with Brad Pitt as Billy Bean. And a lot of the replies and like quotes and stuff were, man, like, he's so relentless. Like, he gets the ball and he just goes again. It doesn't matter if the last one worked or the last one didn't work. He just goes again and he goes again and he goes again and he goes again and he goes again. And that, to me, is the thing that makes, like, really good wingers. Is like, I get the ball and I'm gonna go. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to go again. And I'm going to go again. And I'm going to drive into the box again. And I'm going to make the off-ball run again. And again, and again, and again. Comster1 says, what do you think about the Garnacho and Pedro Rodriguez comp? I think I was the first person to make the Pedro comp for Garnacho. I think they're different in that Pedro was like a freakishly talented finisher, whereas Garnacho for his career is maybe a small negative. And I think Pedro being so 2-footed, I think Garnacho is also 2-footed, but not Pedro level 2-footed. But I think in terms of a mold for Garnacho as a player, Pedro is the mold of really aggressive presser who runs off the ball like crazy, arrives at the back post, drives, cutback, squares, so on, so on, so on, so on. That, I think, is the mold for him. Least talented of a band of 3. That, I think, is the mold for Garnacho's career long term. And yesterday was like a really nice sign. And I'm just I don't want to dunk. I don't want to be Shaq. But I do want to just say, like, before yesterday, people were talking about how garbage he is and how he's not a good player and how he's not as good as Gittins. And again, you look, 2 assists, goal. Like, he's pretty consistently dangerous every time he plays. So I really, 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 really like Garnacho. I think he's a very, very good player. I'm happy we got him. I think it's a great price. Like, pretty nice deal. Tom Coley dropped a question in the chat. Nice to see you, Tom. Said, missed the start of this, but thoughts on management of Caicedo. Why doesn't he go off yesterday after looking injured first half and the game being over early enough in the second half? This is a returning question for me pretty regularly that it's real dicey how things are going to look like with Caicedo's physical management in general. I have a lot of worries. Like, I don't think Caicedo played particularly well in this game, and to me, what the biggest bellwether of that is that, like, there's obviously all the memes about him fouling. 4 fouls is a lot for Caicedo, and not only was it 4 fouls, it's 4 fouls on, like, the number of transitions he had to face and he had to foul because he couldn't move was really high for him. Of all the things I am concerned about, him keeling over and getting injured is probably number one, because I think he's the most irreplaceable player in this team. I think everyone else, you can kind of figure something else out. He's the only one that I'm like, there's no way. And I think if I have one gripe with Maresca, it's like, dude, as soon as the second goal goes in, like, he should be done. His day should be over. And you should go dunk him in a cryo chamber until the international break is over. And the thing that's tough is, like, I understand Enzo has a problem as well. Like, Enzo Fernández has pulled out of the Argentina squad, saying he has a bone bruise on his knee. And we're going to talk about Enzo because Enzo had a game. But, like, with Asugo down and Lavia down, Andre's the only midfielder. It becomes difficult to sub both. The counterpoint that I would make is, like, just stick Josh in midfield, or stick Reese in midfield, or stick Gusto in midfield, especially when the game's gone. Like, it doesn't matter. But I do think you're getting to a point, and we'll talk about the Lavia injury later. We'll talk about Lavia later. I think it's probably now January. You got to look at a midfielder. Nima Des Feliz says, why not bring in some academy players to play that? I think Maresca could probably be a little bit braver with his squad selections. Like, do you really need all of James, Hato, Achimpong, Tosin in your team? Probably not. But I think you could. I think the academy group of central midfielders, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, is actually a very weak cohort right now. I don't love any of those guys. I brought up, like, the Conte short-term deal at the end of the season thing. I think that would be, like, an interesting 6-month loan deal, kind of to see out his contract, whatever you want. But my sister got me this for Christmas a few years ago, and I never use it because it's too small, a regular mug. But I like this. I don't know. We'll see. The other player I want to talk about, Enzo Fernández. I thought Enzo was fabulous in this game, to a degree that I think people are sleeping on the season that he is having. Like, he is playing a very different role. He's playing a very different role in terms of he's much higher even than last season. But, like, for a central midfielder to be putting up this level of XG plus XA production I'll be curious to check this, but this is, I think, better than any Kevin De Bruyne season by underlying production. No, it's not going to be any season. It's going to be up there, though. Yeah, it's up there with all the Kevin De Bruyne seasons. Like, that is real nice. Real nice. And, again, is the progressive passing stuff isn't super duper duper high. It's good, but it's not super duper duper high. The ball winning was great. I think one of the things that I quite liked about yesterday's performance for him was there was a very good balance of deep Enzo, where he is, like, we'll talk about the build stuff, but where he was showing kind of outside of the block, like if I move all these players back to reflect how deep they actually were on the field. But there was a good balance to me of deep facing forward Enzo and box touch Enzo. And I think that was the thing that I liked. I think Enzo is a phenomenal player. And to me, if you want to think about like the best version of him, you don't want, I don't think you want the like 100 touch 80 pass per game Enzo Fernandez. I don't think you want that guy. I don't think you want the Toni Kroos guy that we thought we were going to get, where he is like really deep and he's just like pass, circulate, so on, so on, so on. I think you want the balance of half the time he is showing low outside of the structure to be like a clear ball progression, ball advancement option. And half the time he is, I'm getting in the box to go crash and go score goals. Like somebody in the chat said, everyone's saying we had the 5 Enzo back yesterday and he still had 6 box touches and 5 shots, which like, yeah, that's wicked. And to me, this is the blend you want. You get 6 box touches from midfield, but you also get 11 passes into the final third. Like that is the trade. Pano Footy says Seb likened him to looking more like a Modric than a Kroos, and I think that's a better balance. I totally agree with that. I didn't see that tweet from Seb, but I totally agree that it's more Modric than Kroos. I really, really, really like that. And I thought he had a spectacular game. Somebody much earlier in the chat, it might have been Pano, said he looked like Liverpool Enzo from 2 seasons ago, which I think is a really good reference because he was also phenomenal in that game. But it's also another one where like, dude can play, dude can really hoop. He's a very, very, very good player. Like I think it says a lot that nobody talks about the price of these guys anymore. Like they are the 2 most expensive midfielders of all time, and everybody's like, all right, sure, then moves on. No, we're very lucky to have both those players. Rob Sanchez, very little to do again, like 1 high claim off of a corner. I thought it was very funny. Sunderland like finally got an attack, they get a corner, and Sanchez is just like, mine, goodbye. The attack is over. But the last 2 players that I wanted to talk about the most were Chalobah and Fofana, where look, Wolves are not great, but they are they like can be a dangerous transition team, and Chalobah and Fofana just absolutely killed every transition. They had no chance. I thought they both had very solid games in possession. 11 passes into the final third for Trev. 8 passes into the final third for Fofana. A lot of those are going center back to wingers' feet. But also very importantly, the 2 of them combined only misplaced 8 passes. Like that's a very good sign for your in possession play. And I think as a dynamic, they just work really well. Like Fofana goes and blows things up, like he jumps and he wins headers and so on, so on, so on. And Chalobah just like sweeps into the channels and it's fine. Roshan says Wolves are not great, but they put 3 on our head top a week ago. Let me go look at this lineup, guys. Was there anything different about the center back pairing? Like maybe a very tall, perhaps Nigerian descent, like maybe big long name guy. I don't know. Just a question. Again, I don't want to be too much of an asshole, but it's just very clear now across a number of matches that like you can just go through forever of Trev, Fofana, clean sheet. Hato Tosin, bad. Trev Fofana, clean sheet. Tosin Josh, bad. Sunderland, Josh and Fofana, nothing from open play. Tosin comes in, problem. And I can keep going back. I can keep going back and keep going back. Ajax, who cares? Forest, who played in this game? I think we were pretty shit in this game. Josh and Chaloba, another clean sheet. Like you could, it's the team is worse when Tosin plays. The team is worse when Tosin plays. Liverpool, who played in this game against Liverpool? Badishile Achimpong, great. So I don't think he's that good. Like I've just said repeatedly, I would move on from him. I like that he's a good. He's good in the dressing room and blah blah. Like whatever. I don't care. Like I would, if you could move him to West Ham or Wolves or somebody in the middle in January, I would move on from him. Mupstrom says, have you watched anything on Disasi for the U21s? He looks a lot leaner. I tried to watch the game, but it wasn't streamed. I much preferred Disasi as a center back than a right back. I thought he was a perfectly useful center back. And I also don't think like Disasi was ever a bad egg. Like I think he actually like cared about winning. Pano Footy says, pay me to be an analyst and I can be Cole's friend for cheaper than 100K per week. Listen, for sure. And yeah, Tosin is pure profit. Like it to me, you could move him to West Ham for like 18-20 million pretty easily, I think. You could move him back to Fulham for a decent number. Roshan says, Disasi a World Cup winning center back. He did play right back at the World Cup, but that's less of the point. But yeah, I thought Chelsea it was a really, really solid performance. It was like, this is what you expect against one of the lowest teams in the league at home. And I'm pretty happy with a lot of the performances. The last player, we didn't talk about him. Steve Glazesesh. Man, like he's just a joke. The things he does when he gets fullbacks ISO'd, it is, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I feel so dumb for saying, yeah, he's going to put up 6 goals and assists in 1590s. Like, no, he's just clearly way better than that. I mean, like, so the funny thing, like, he only has 2 and 4, so like 6 and 15 might not be that crazy because he's playing a lot of Champions League minutes more than league minutes. I will also give Enzo Maresca some pretty solid props. I understand why a lot of people really want Estêvão to start. I get it, right? Like I very, very much understand the desire for that, and like see also that he's better than Neto and Gittins and whoever. I get it, but I do appreciate that he's being given a pretty nice runway of. You look at his matches so far this season, and you have like you play 30 minutes here, and then you get 75 here and then 70 here. Like he's never playing 90s, and it's like, okay, you came from international break, and then you're going to play a little bit, and then you're going to come off the bench for a little bit, and then you have a lot of like 60-30-15 60-30-15 and just being pretty responsible with midweek weekend. It's good. Like it's the responsible way to approach it. JL2747 says people keep referencing the Barca youth playing so much, but don't mention how much injuries they've been doing. I mean, doesn't Lamine Yamal have like a sports hernia right now? Like you just got to be real. You got to be responsible with these guys, and that's my thing. I quite like how he is being approached right now. So that I like, and we'll see. We'll see. I think he's in the Brazil squad again, which is awesome for him. And we'll go from there. But Steve, yeah, the things he does 1v1 and like there's a thing like, does everyone remember the video of Ryan Giggs, like that famous FA Cup semifinal goal where he like jinks in and out and the defender is like turning this way and he like doesn't know which way he's turning? Garnacho does that with regular dribbles where he's so good at just like a little touch inside, enough to make you turn your hips, and then you're like, oh, and then he just zing the other way. And the goal, the João Pedro goal, which he did not get an assist for, and he didn't get the XA for, which I thought was quite interesting, is like he takes a teeny touch inside, like just a little touch, and as soon as the defender's hips go, cut, and then immediately cross once he creates the separation. Like there's no doubt in what he's doing. He's very, very decisive. He's freakishly good. Somebody asked me on Twitter to update my projection for him, and like I don't think that makes a bunch of sense to do because like we have a lot more information now. But and again, I would be pretty surprised if he's at 0.92 XG plus XA per 90 in the Premier League right now. I'd be pretty shocked if he stayed that high, but I do think he might end up something like 0.6. And so if I was going to adjust it, I'd probably say he ends up something like 12 goals and assists in 2090s in the league, something like that in the league. But I think he'll play a lot of Champions League minutes and he'll play a lot of cup minutes, and I think it's going to be a pretty good place. But like, I love when you do the statistical comparisons because it's just a list of like unbelievable guys. Like, yep, that guy's good. That guy's good. Love that guy. That guy's good. That guy's good. That guy's really good. That guy's really good. Huh. Could have bought this guy instead of Gittins. That would have been interesting. That sure is a lot of output. And that guy's really good, and that guy's kind of good. So I like it. I'm a big fan of ye old Steve on that one. The last thing that I wanted to talk about with this game that I thought was an interesting wrinkle is Enzo Maresca is like very, very focused on stable ball progression and circulation and so on. And we've seen Chelsea attack back fives in a couple different ways. So a frequent shape that Chelsea will use, right, is they'll build in a 3-2. Nick says Delap wasn't that good. We'll talk about Delap as well. But we're in a good mood. I don't want to slander guys. But we'll talk about Delap. We see Chelsea attacking a 3-2. And you have the double 10s, you have the double 6, you get the box. This is much more common against back 4s than back 5s. Okay. We see 3-1. And then you have 3-1 and you have like this shape in terms of getting 6 players on the last line against 5. This has probably been a little bit more common against back 5 teams who press. So you can put 6 on the last line and you can stretch them into depth. We've seen 3 diamond, so 3 and then legit 8s not on the last line. We've seen that a few times, particularly in big games. And then lately, we have been seeing something more like a 2-3 against 4s and 5s. Like this, where you have both fullbacks come narrow into the next line. And one of the things that I quite liked about this is so they can flex kind of how wide they are to play with the block, depending what you want. So we've seen 2-3. Yesterday was the first time that we have seen 2-2 to build, where it was like this a lot. Where you'd have 2-2, you'd have Gusto much higher. And there were times where like you'd have this rotation happen, right? Where Cucurella and Enzo would swap. And now it's like kind of just 3-1. But I thought that was very interesting. I don't think we will see that a lot. I think it really only works against. Teams who are as conservative as Wolves were. I remember this interview with Tuchel and the Bundesliga Sky guy Archie Rind Toot, and they were having this conversation about when Tuchel was at Bayern in relation to how do you tweak this build shape to affect everything else, and how they were playing someone and they started building 2-1 and basically everyone else high, and the other team just showed this shape and actually they couldn't build 2-1, so then they had to go 2-2 or 2-3 to play past the front two. And I think about that a lot. But I thought that was an interesting thing. The actual last player to talk about is Liam Delap, who I thought was fairly unimpactful. He takes 2 shots. He has 7 passes. He's got 15 touches in total, 1 box touch. The team was much better when he went off the field. Listen, like, he is what we thought he was. He's going to be much better with space to run into than he is against packed boxes. His link play is really, really, really bad. Like, so bad. I described him as one of the worst passing forwards I've ever seen. Like, that was the words I used. You can go back and watch the video. He does not create shots for other people. He's not amazing as a dribbler to create shots for himself. I don't know, like, it's not a strength in his game. So to me, like, I still think his presence is helpful. So like I would probably start him against Arsenal because I think his willingness to run into depth would be useful. Or against Barcelona. Like, I think those games will be useful. And as I've said a few times, like, I think it is a genuine positive for that deal that even if he's bad, you'll be able to move off him for what you paid fairly easily. But like, he's worse than Jackson. Like, that, you swap Jackson for Delap in this team is 4 points better. Pretty confident. Jackson is good. And Nima Desville says Jackson would have been great, but maybe hear me out, Victor Osimhen. Yeah, Osimhen also would have been great. And then a couple comments about Neto as a 9, who played the last 30 minutes of the game as a 9. And I thought actually looked very good. That's the thing that CFC Central, Sam, has been asking for quite some time, that he, when we don't have a proper 9 on the pitch, he much prefers Neto as a 9 than other guys. Because Neto actually is, if you look at both the second and the third goals, where Neto is the 9, well, one is Neto, like, makes the run across the face of the box to score himself, but the other one, he makes a really hard crashing near post run, which opens the space for João Pedro on the cutback. Like, those are nice movements to have. So I think that was really, really helpful. So we'll see. Guiu came on, did mascot things. I thought all those things were fun. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in the data from this game that I wanted to spend some time talking about. I thought the press was okay. They forced Wolves to play very direct into nothing. I thought I was kind of disappointed with Gittins when he came on, and I know it's like a thing. Kieran doesn't like Gittins, but he just felt very passive. Like you're up 3-0 against the trash team. Like this should be the chance for you to say, I'm going to score and I'm going to assist and I'm going to get 4 and I'm going to get 5. Like Guillou comes on at 3-0 and it's like, let's go. We're getting another one. We're getting another one. And like Gittins came on and was like, I'll receive the ball and I will pass it back to my fullback and then I will go stand on the wing and we will be done in 15 minutes. Like that I don't love. I want guys who come on and are very aggressive as subs. So we'll see. Frank Lampard 2432 says, is João Pedro going to be better when Palmer's back? You know, I think he will have a less heavy burden to bear, and that will be helpful for him. I think that will be helpful for him. Nick says Gittin should have just ran at defenders. Rather him go 2 for 7 for dribbles rather than 0 of 2. Totally agree. I totally agree with that sentiment. And Fabian Collins says the body language of Gittin screams timid. It's true. So we'll see. We'll see. It is what it is. It's just a little thing that I'm like, when you come on as a sub, I want to see you go. I want to see you just drive at people and go real hard. Particularly in situations like that. So we'll see. The other Chelsea thing of the day was Strasbourg beat Lille 2-0. Emmanuel Amiga scored twice. I still think there's a decent but not huge chance he joins in January. But scored 2 goals. I have not seen either goal yet, to be honest with you. So I'm kind of curious about that. But Lille are good. Lille are good. It also sounds like Penders had a good game. He made a very good save off a corner, someone said. I think Dimitri tweeted that. But we'll see. We'll see. And then the women's team, as ZZZ says, the women's team drew Arsenal. And we can talk about that game as well. That game is quite frustrating to watch. Particularly at 4 o'clock in the morning, it was quite frustrating to watch, but definitely something there. Josh Foreman says, are we going to talk about football terrorist Sonia Bonpastor? Yeah, there's Sonia. Look, it's hard for me to be too critical of Sonia when, like, you look at Chelsea women's record over the years and it's like they don't lose. They're still unbeaten. So, like, yeah, I get it. So it's hard for me to be critical when, like, yeah, you've gone 35 matches unbeaten. Have fun. But I think they leave a lot of money on the table in terms of stylistically how they choose to play. Both Amiga goals were mistakes by the opposition. He was otherwise uninvolved in most of the match. Well, that's, I mean, a nice place to be. First one was a jammy goal off of a Moreira prayer cross, and the second one was off a transition that comes from him stealing an underhit back pass. But those, like, that matters. That stuff happens. Lord Flacco, do you think a winger leaves with knowing Kenda arrives, or will he stay in Portugal for another year? I think it's an open question. I think Tyreek George will probably go. I think that you look at the squad as a whole in terms of winger minutes, and it's also crazy to me that Neto's not 26 yet, which is, like, just very wild. Neto also, like, he's not good, right? But he's not. I feel like Neto is, like, somewhat playing better than last year, which is a crazy thing to say, but I feel like he is. Do I think a winger goes for Kenda? No is the short answer. No is the short answer, but I don't feel very strongly about it. I would bet more on Kenda getting another season at. I would bet on Kenda getting a season at Strasbourg more than him playing at Chelsea. I think that's I think how I would see it. Fabian Collins says, "I swear I thought Neto was Unk status." This is the funny thing about Chelsea's team is nobody is old. Even Mark Cucurella, who is just 27. Like he's got 3 years of peak age play left. This team is so young. It's hilarious. Like Tosin's the only player older than 27. Sanchez is about to turn 28. Panofooty says, I think because of the optics of the fee, it's unlikely he goes to Strasbourg. I don't know. It's possible. It's very possible. Nima Desfili says, who would you get as a left back if we move on from Cucurella? I don't know. I haven't thought about it that much. Roshan says, seen very few games, but Kenda's very Neto coded. It just looks like a more impactful passer, so the metrics are good. I think that Kenda is probably. It's a good question. Is Kenda Neto coded? No, I think he's probably a considerably better passer. I also think like he is much more young Neto, like pre-injury Neto, who really could zip people as a dribbler. Again, I think there's a lot to like with Kenda, but I think we got to take our time here. I don't think he's particularly ready to be super impactful tomorrow at Chelsea. Like I would be pretty surprised. So we'll see. James Garud says have a shot at Miles Lewis Skelly, maybe with Calafiori and Hincapi. Yeah, I would definitely take a run at MLS. I would definitely take a run at Lewis Hall. Yeah, it's I don't know. Bad Rabbit says, I remember an Opta that Chelsea are the only team in the league not to have played a player over 30 and laughed because I don't know how we could even break the streak. I don't think there's a single player at the club who is over 30. And I don't think there's a single player at the club who is over 30. I mean, I think the closest thing is you wait 2 years and it's Sanchez. Yeah. Lewis Hall hasn't even been playing for Newcastle. I mean, Lewis Hall is very good. So you should play. He's just like made of glass. He's always injured. So you gotta be careful about that. But I'd rather MLS than Lewis Hall. But I think that would be a pretty tough deal to do. ZZZ says, would you magically add to the squad 30-year-old William, 30-year-old Giroud, 30-year-old Pedro? I think Giroud very easily would be the most helpful. JM55 says grown men are forgetting about Sterling. Raheem Sterling is not playing at Chelsea. Raheem Sterling will never play for Chelsea again. It simply will not happen. Like there is Chelsea could have 8 injured wingers and he still wouldn't play. So it's a shame. It's a shitty situation, but is this really Lewis Hall's contract? It really expires this summer? There's no way that's real. Is that real? Lewis Hall contract. No way. He's only been there 2. No, there's no way his contract is till 2026. He joined. That would mean it was a 2-year contract. That doesn't make any sense. I don't believe that. Fabian Collins says Giroud didn't look very helpful against Strasbourg today. Yeah, because he's 40 years old now. It is a 2-year deal. If that's a 2-year deal, I would definitely try to buy him now. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Bad Rabbit says surely that was his Chelsea contract. It wasn't his Chelsea contract because his Chelsea contract was till 2028 because he signed a new deal. Newcastle signed a long-term contract after a permanent loan spell. They didn't say a year. Maybe it is 2026. If it's 2026, I'd be coming in right now. Interesting. Yeah. 6-year contract. Lewis Hall signed 6-year contract before that. Oh, yeah. James Grid said, has anything been said about Cucurella's deal? And somebody asked about this before, saying, I commented on Cucurella's contract. So let me sum up. Let me sum up the Cucurella thing. In August, Fabrizio Romano said something like, Chelsea and Marc Cucurella are very happy. They're going to explore an extension because of everything they've achieved. And I said that that's very surprising to me for a few reasons. One is that his existing contract goes to 2028. So there's already 2.5 years left on it. 2, it goes to his age 30 season, which is like very not Chelsea. 3, he's already on huge wages. And so I looked at that and I was like, I think that's actually a really awkward contract extension to do because he makes a lot of money, because it will extend him past 30, and because he already has lots of years left. Okay, so that's like, I think that's a very difficult year, a very difficult situation for Chelsea's current administration for how to do that extension. 1 week later, like basically immediately, Fabrizio Romano was like, contract is done. Marc Cucurella in an interview said, yeah, it's done. However, and my commentary at the time was either Cucurella was extremely reasonable and was like, yeah, whatever, like just tack two years on at the same wages, which I think would be very unlikely. 2, Chelsea gave him everything he wanted very quickly, which would be really bad. Or 3, it's not actually done yet. And I think 1 is fairly unlikely because he's playing really well. I think 2 would be very bad for the club because, and also would be pretty surprising to me. And the third part of this is that Chelsea still haven't announced it. And every other player, when they get a new contract, Chelsea have announced it. And in particular, Chelsea have announced it through like all the guys, through the many leaks that they have said, like, no, this is done. So I don't know if that's actually done. Now, the additional part of this was that something like Atletico Madrid were interested in getting Cucurella at the end of next season when he would have 1 year left on his current deal. That is about the time that I would be exploring it. I think Cucurella is a player who will, when he hits the cliff, will fall off the cliff. Like he is very reliant on his physical talents, like in terms of like zipping around. If he loses a step, he will fall off a cliff, I think. And that he's a player like at 29, I would be pretty happy to move on from, I think. So we'll see what happens, but That's where I'm at on Cucurella. So yeah, he said he signed it, but these teams announce these things. There's no incentive for Chelsea to not announce it if it was actually signed. What else? What other random things? What other random things have come up? Vasterot says move on for who? I don't know. We'll think about it in a year's time. There's names now, but those things could all change in a year. Like the striker market this summer was so different from the striker market a year ago, was so different from the striker market a year before that. I don't know. Space Cadet says, what did all the pundits and I think you miss about the Vert signing? Everyone seemed confident he was going to tear it up, and it's increasingly clear there's a steep learning curve there. So I actually was pretty vocal that I did not like the Vert signing for a few reasons. The things that I really didn't like about Verts is, one, I thought he would physically struggle to translate because he's a small, not fast player. And I was like, that gives me pause. The second is that a huge amount of his creation was in transition for Leverkusen, who were a good possession team, but good possession teams in the Bundesliga get to play against really like transitional situations all the time. And I was just a little bit about it. And particularly one of the things that made me very about it is for his career, his teammates have absolutely destroyed his XA. Like, you look at 2021, 3.5 XA, 6 assists. 2022, 8 XA, 10 assists. 4 XA, 6 assists. 7.5 XA, 11 assists. 7 XA, 12 assists. Generally, even Messi has no control over what guys finish off of from their passes. And so when I look at that, I'm like, and then you do the math on that, right? Like, if he goes from a 22 guy to a 16-13 guy, I was really hesitant. I think Wirtz is a good player. I just, at the price, I was like, whoa, I'm out. Not even close at that number. Not even close at the number that he moved for. And I had some question marks about his knee because he had an ACL tear when he was younger, and it seems like he recovered pretty well from that. But he's not a super high minutes guy. Like, I just didn't like it. I3P says, like, why was Ekitike better? Like, the difference is that Ekitike is massive and strong. He's quick and strong and like long. So it's like it just translates totally different to me. And even then, Ekitike has been like just okay. And some of this is like the stench around Liverpool. Liverpool have not been that good. Liverpool have been fairly weak to the point that it's like affecting their team holistically. I don't expect that Wirtz will continue to be as poor as he has been. There's other like structural things in regards to Wirtz. Like, he has been asked to do much deeper ball progression stuff. Like, it is less move the ball into the box, create shots. It is much more move the ball into the final third things. Rand Islam says, at that number, who is worth it? Would you pay that much for Palmer? I would pay 130 for Palmer. I would pay 130 for Bellingham. Yeah, like there's a few guys there that you would. Also, I feel very good that I was like, I would really, really take a run at Doku if I was Chelsea. Doku's had a great season so far. He was very good today. If the deal would not have happened, but like the things I would have done to do Doku instead of Gittins would be obscene, obscene the crimes I would commit to have gotten Doku instead of Gittins. Nimedes Felice says, what about 130 for Musiala? Musiala has like a bit of the Wirtz thing as well, where like there's some pretty huge Bayern dominance air in those numbers. I feel better about Musiala because he's a little bit bigger. But again, like you look, and there's a lot of finishing air in there. I would be pretty nervous about Musiala. And like had a serious injury. I think I would be much cooler. I don't know. I would have been cooler getting him on a buyout and putting the wages into it than the fee plus the wages it's going to be. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with all those guys. But yeah, Wirtz was not. I did not like it, but I think a lot of people just assumed like Liverpool smart, good player, he'll be good. But I think Liverpool's transfer strategy this summer was a little bit. They were moving a little bit booky. Is how I would describe it. I'm trying to see what other questions I missed on all the way up. There's not anything in there. Yeah. Oh, somebody said Kieran doesn't buy Bundesliga transition attackers, Atalanta players, or from Holland. Yeah, like my general like vague rules of thumb that are not like hard and fast, but are kind of things that I squint at. Like I don't like buying attackers from the Eredivisie. I don't like buying transition Bundesliga attackers, and I don't buy from Gasperini teams. And I don't like buying Red Bull attackers either. So like Xavi Simons is like a trifecta in there. Pano says, I have a non-Chelsea but MLS-centric question for you, Kieran, when the time comes. Hit me, and other people could come up with questions. We're at the 1 hour mark, and I'm not feeling the stamina for a 3 hour marathon today. I'm not gonna lie to you. So hit me with your random questions from here, and we'll just go wild. I don't have any other Chelsea takes today. So Ryanism says, I don't get Liverpool's summer transfer strategy. Very surprising from Edwards. Edwards does not run Liverpool's transfer strategy anymore. Michael Edwards is now the head of Liverpool's global football operation, and the head of transfers at Bournemouth now is a man by the name of, I believe, Julian Ward is his name, who was the ex-Bournemouth guy. But yeah, the Michael Edwards is like big picture run the organization. The Booyah Man says the Isak deal is so bad to me. Just an overpay, I think, but he's a good player. Rahul Ranjan says, who are you tracking to replace Enzo or be backup like a Sugo for Caicedo? Some fun names like Wharton is obviously on there. Mo Square, who is like, no, it's not Lens. Who did he play for? Is it Ren? There's Arthur Avon, who Mo Square wrote a thing about him, and I watched some video off the back of it, and I was like, oh, this kid's nice. This was a player that, like, I was like, ooh, that's the shape of me. I like a little bit of this that I think you could get for a very reasonable price. But like, I think you just need guys who can pass, dribble, win the ball. Like, give me midfielders who can do all three things to a decent level. Like Elliot Anderson, I don't love. He does not move me as much as other people do, but he can pass the ball, he can win the ball, and he can carry the ball. Give me guys who can do all three. If you can do all three to a decent level, I'm in. Stack is probably the wrong age profile for it. People are really into Angelo Stiller, who plays for Stuttgart. But I think Stiller like can't move. Like I think that guy's super slow, and I'm not into it. But the dude can pass the ball like crazy. So we'll see. Lord Flacco says, "Have you seen Onana today? The more I see, the more I like." I did not watch Villa today, but Amadou Onana is a player I really like structurally. The thing I like about Onana though is I think a better version of this Chelsea team is something like you have a more static ball winning six, like a Rodri, a Onana, a like bigger static defensive midfielder, which frees Caicedo to go run and press people and win the ball high. The problem is like if you put Lavia there, for example, is that he's a sieve defensively. So you can't like yes, you free Caicedo to go win it, but then if they get played around, it's a goal because he can't defend. So I think you just have to be mindful of that profile. And Onana is a player I quite like in that role. He's also a menace on set pieces. So I don't know. Just it's an interesting group. Like Baliba is interesting to me, but the fee is way too high. I also think he's like an actively bad passer. Like he falls into the Lavia bucket for me of like I just wouldn't pay that much. E2nd from Punk deal was just off with the other purchase made. Who out of this current crop of Chelsea players are likely to be top 5 Chelsea players of all time? The current Chelsea crop to be top 5 players of all time. Like maybe Levi Colwill, maybe Reece James, maybe Cole Palmer, and and like maybe Estêvão because he's young enough and he could be that guy. But those are the 4 that like even Caicedo. I think Caicedo is incredible, but like Conte is not even close to top 5 Chelsea players of all time, and Conte was clear of Caicedo. So best 11 right now without Colwill is Sanchez, James, Fofana, Chalobah, Cucurella, Enzo, Caicedo, Estêvão, Palmer, Garnacho, João Pedro. Best team. Does the fact that we've largely stood still in our development as a team despite Palmer Levi injuries speak in favor of the summer transfer window? No. I think it says a lot about the league. But I don't think it says that much about the summer window. Panel footy, Triantis of Minnesota United just got called up to Greece. Do you have any thoughts with his limited minutes? I really like Triantis. Triantis is nice. Like so to give backstory to everyone who like doesn't follow MLS. Minnesota United is a team coached by an ex-Chelsea Academy coach who play the most insane style. They play like mostly back 5-3-2, transition, long throw, set piece. They tied Seattle 3-3 last night, won in PKs in a game where they took a red card in the first half and then scored like a long throw, a corner, won in the shootout, like just a total mess of a game. Triantis is like, in my opinion, super useful as like a bursting runner from midfield. He's way out over his skis in terms of his production. That's not going to continue. But I do think as a passer, as a runner, as a ball winner, there's some stuff there. Longer term, I think he's pretty nice. And Minnesota are super smart, and I'll be transparent. Like Minnesota hired the stats thing that I work with as a consulting firm for them. Like they're very, very sharp. And I like Trantis a lot. Weatherspoon, is Max Verstappen top 3 of all time? Max Verstappen is top 3 of all time, and he's not 3. And he's not 2. KC Current about to go out. No Temwa, no party. Let me see. I am not watching that game. I would love KC to go out. Oh, wow, they scored 90 plus 6. That's nuts. What are my thoughts on Serie A when it comes to purchasing players, like midfielders versus defenders versus attackers? Seems like I have no idea how to rate those guys. I think Serie A is like solidly number 3 in the league tier strength ratings. I don't have any positional qualms about that league. I maybe don't like center backs that much. I think the league there's a lot of goals in that league, which is kind of weird. It has this reputation for being slow and tactical, but it's the highest scoring league in the top 5 now. So Serie A, I think, is I don't feel particularly strongly in any direction. Maybe center backs make me a little queasy. Like I love Bundesliga center backs, for example, because I think the league is so nuts that the asks of Bundesliga center backs are so demanding that going to the Premier League is actually a really easy transition. Like I would love Upamecano so much at Chelsea. Nimedes Felice is really higher than the Bundesliga. Yeah, I think by goals per game, Serie A is the highest scoring league. And I think the Bundesliga in general is pretty weak. So, do I think Andre can assist Caicedo or Enzo taking over major minutes? Yeah, for sure. For sure they can. What are my thoughts on the sporting director structure changing with Dave Fallows? Again, we talked about this last week. We have no idea how it's going to change, but I'm not so sure. Chen Yu Zhang says, what do you think about Ayub Buwadi? Do you think we're moving on from Lavia? I don't have very many Buwadi thoughts other than, so like he's played a lot for a kid and the data is not that strong. However, I think it's really important to say if you are 18 years old and you can stay on the field for decent teams, you're probably really good. Or you're probably going to be pretty good. I feel very strongly that for 17, 18, 19-year-olds, even if you're not that good, like playing time is extremely predictive of future success for young players. So staying on the field and not sucking really matters. What players can we sign in January to challenge Arsenal this year? I don't think there's a realistic path for us to challenge for the title this year. What is a Chelsea hot take from the past that you had? Mine is that the 2015 title win was the worst thing that happened to us long term. What is a hot take from the past? That Chelsea were right to move on from Kevin De Bruyne. I really liked De Bruyne. I really liked KDB as a prospect. I was super high on him. But I wasn't like life-changingly high on him. And I don't think it was the worst decision in the world at the time, with the information we had available at the time. And I think they appropriately insulated themselves. Am I right in remembering when I asked you about Onana last year, you weren't so huge on him? What changed in his game? No, I like Onana. I was a little bit queasy at the price when he moved from Everton. Or maybe not queasy, but I had concerns because he didn't play that much. He was injured a lot. And I had some concerns that, like, I think there was also maybe some, like, oh, do you want Onana or Caicedo stuff back then? That was like, well, no, Caicedo's just obviously way better than him. What else we got? How can you have Colwill on that list over Caicedo? Is it because he's got the academy connection? This is in relation to the top 5 Chelsea players, everything. Yeah. Well, and it's a positional thing. Like, I think if Colwill stays till he's 35 at center back as the captain, the team wins a lot. That's a big thing for him. What I think about the Raptors. The Raptors are very frustrating. I think Emmanuel quickly sucks. But I enjoy watching them. Mr. Cameron says, what would you say to someone trying to break into your line of work when it comes to getting started, for example, what to get a degree in? Okay. Couple things. One, I don't work in football. I am an engineer for my day job. I work on batteries for electric cars. That's my day job. I don't do soccer full time. I don't do soccer for money at all, really. My advice to you, though, is like, don't worry about like getting a degree. Like, get a degree in the thing you want to get a degree in, whether it's whatever you want. But don't get a degree for soccer. What my advice is, and I'm on Felix's profile to bring this up. Felix got hired by Como as a scout. He did an internship there and then went on full-time afterwards. Ben, I think it's Ben Mattinson is his name, something like that, who's another Twitter guy, is also a scout at Como. And the biggest piece of advice I have is like, do the thing you want to do and then put it out there and then take a beating for it and then do it better the next time. Like, if you want to be a scout, watch lots of players, have takes on those players, put those takes out there. And like, the easiest way to get feedback on the internet is to be wrong. And so go say like, I think this player is going to be really good. And I think this player is going to be really bad. And have takes. And like, there was who was the other? Mo, what did Mo put this on there? Mo put, where'd it go? This is Mo Square, really good follow. Mo has an incredible eye for players. His lens for player development is very, very good. Think about how simple this is, right? What are the things he's good at in attack? What are the things he does in defense? Outcomes. What is the floor? So if he doesn't develop, what is the median? Like, so average outcome. Ceiling, the best 95th percentile outcome. And if you start to think about players as like the distributions of things they can become, and you say, okay, this is what I think is going to happen, all of a sudden you get to go back and look and say like, okay, I had this take on this player. This is what I thought. 2 years from now, was I right? Was I wrong? Why was I wrong? Why was I right? And when you go through that process of like iterating, you get better at it. If you're a coach, go coach teams, go coach games, go coach sessions, reflect on everything, write everything down. Like, I have years of sessions all the way back, just of like, we did this exercise. I didn't like this about the session. I didn't like this. I did like this. The players responded well to this. This point came across well. This point didn't come across well. And like, you take exercises where like, here, I'll draw one on here. Okay. There's an exercise that we used to do that was, how do I do this? You would cut the pitch like this, and you would put a line here, and you'd put a line here, and the defenders would start. Well, let me go back here. Sorry. The defenders would start on this side, on the inside. You can imagine it's like a fullback and a center back and a winger and a center midfielder. And you would have your fullback would start wide, your winger would start wide and high, your 9 would start on the inside, your 8 would start on the inside, and their team would start like this. And this is the whole way for how the exercise would start. And all that would happen is the ball would play in, and you would attack the 4v4 as they shift to defend. And this is all the basis for the exercise. And it's like purely receive on the switch, can you break into the penalty area? And then we had some other things set up for it. And the first time we did it, it was so shit. It was so bad. All the shifts were wrong. And like these players, because they have no danger to play back inside, don't protect the middle of the field. They just fucking sprint to here, and it's a waste of everyone's time. And then you iterate and you like change the constraints to get the behavior you want, and then you change it to get the success you want. And I did this exercise probably 20 times over 2 years before I got it to a point that I was like, okay, I actually like it now, and it gives me the points, it gives me the things that I want out of it. And the whole point is like you just have to iterate over and over and over and over and over and over and take feedback and reflect and see what you like and see what you don't like. And then you get better. Pano Footy says, Kier, you are one green card marriage away from getting back on the pitch with a whistle. Don't worry. Actually, I had a very fun, I had a very cool, the college team that I used to coach won their conference championship this week. And like one of the first players I ever recruited won conference MVP, which is pretty cool. So that was fun. Jonathan Pajama says, you make car batteries. I thought you worked for ASA. No, ASA is like a hobby. So I run ASA, but it's like I just do it for fun in my free time. I will be at the NWSL championship game though. So if anyone happens to find themselves in San Francisco or San Jose for the NWSL championship game, I will be there. So come say hi. Lord Flacco, what happened to Atalanta this year? So many draws. Well, they stopped employing Gasparini. That's number one. The Czech 17 says, have you talked about center back targets? No, we haven't. I'm not super eager to do a lot of center back business unless I can get either Dayo Upamecano or Ibrahima Konate. Those are the only two guys that particularly move me. I don't think Chelsea will be able to pull them off. There's, I think, some other guys that are maybe like big picture broadly interesting, like Konstantinos Kouliarakis, I think is very fun. Pano and I have talked about him a lot. He's had a down year after being much better last year, I think. And there's Arthur Theet, who plays for Eintracht Frankfurt, who's like center back, left backy hybrid. He's like very like huge human being, very quick. Looks like an interesting player. Again, maybe a little bit on the older side for Chelsea's general recruitment, but can do like the left-sided thing if you wanted to do that. But like there's some guys, but I'm not itching, right? Like it depends what the outgoings are. I for example, I think they will try to move Trev this summer. I would not be itching to do that. I think Trev is very useful and good. So I we'll see. We'll see what happens. I personally hope that this summer they do very little. I hope they figure out the striker thing, and I hope maybe you bring a midfielder in if you're gonna do Lavia. This is the other question, by the way. Somebody asked, like, are Chelsea gonna move on from Romeo Lavia? You're not. It's not possible. Like, he makes not huge money, which is fine, but the fee was very big for you to break even on, and he doesn't play. So it's not going to happen for you. Bad Rabbits, the Oscar revisionism in this fan base is incredible. He was the centerpiece of the Jose team that won the league. I assume that's in response to Shadi Champ sitting 60-60 saying KDB's preseason was phenomenal and man of the match against Hull, then thrown out for average Brazilian. I mean, yeah, that's just a terrible take. I get why you're replying to that. What is your Maresca ranking between Premier League coaches? let me just pull up the Premier League. I think that Arteta is definitely better. I think that Pep is definitely better. I think that Regis Lebris is definitely worse. I think that Thomas Frank is slightly better, but I don't feel super strongly about that. But I think he's probably better. I think Arne Slot is probably better. I think Iraola is similar. I think Amorim is similar. I think Glasner is similar. I think Hertzler is probably a little bit worse. I think Moyes is like just such a different, like, I think Moyes, given the constraints, is probably a better manager than a lot of these guys, but it's just like I don't think Moyes would scale up to Chelsea as well. I think Unai is pretty similar. I think we don't have enough information on Keith Andrews for me to have an opinion. I think Eddie Howe is probably slightly worse. I think Marco Silva is probably slightly worse. I think Daniel Farke is considerably worse. I think Scott Parker is considerably worse. I think Nuno is slightly worse. I think who's the Forest manager? I think Dyche is like Moyes in that, like, he wouldn't scale up to a big team, but is probably better. And I think Wolves, we'll see who they hire. So I don't know, 5th best manager, 7th, something like that. We will see. Who Pabi Trasinya says thoughts on Jeremy Jacquet. He's like the name that people really like right now. He feels very Arsenal coded to me. We'll see. I like Liga though as like a center back development league. Don't we have to buy a left winger unless Gittins gets good? No, I think you're kind of open on that one. Who are some dark horse World Cup teams you look forward to in 2026? I don't think there are like dark horses the way there were, because like, think about like the most random team that's going to qualify for the World Cup. Like, what's the really small African team who qualified this year? Cape Verde. Like, Cape Verde are going to have players that most people don't know. Like, I'm struggling to think of a single player in their team that I know. I didn't know Steven Moreira was Cape Verdean. Yeah, like, not a lot of guys, but I just think these days, like, the way their coach's name is Bubista, that's crazy. I think these days, like, you just know who everybody is. So you just know who everybody is. It's not as fun. I would say Norway is probably pretty good, which is funny because Norway have like turned around a lot. Josh Foreman says Jamiro Montero, Philadelphia Union legend. Jamiro Montero is the boy. I loved watching that guy play. The Union have had so many weird players. Ilsinho, that people in this chat, if we start talking about Ilsinho and MLS guys, this chat will go to 10 people so fast. But the Union have had some boys. Norway have been like pretty hot lately. Very, very strong record over the past year. But also not a lot of real opposition in there, so I'm always a little bit curious. Some people have flagged up Ecuador. I will be a total homer, and I will flag up Canada. I think Canada are like sneaky quite decent. Like, you look at the recent squad, they've got like a couple useful goalkeepers. They just got an addition at center back, Alfie Jones from Middlesbrough, which is like interesting. Solid players in there. Like, Davies is coming back. I think they have a real promising group of strikers who all score goals at a really good rate. And they're their performances against like decent teams is pretty good. Um, like beat the US, lost to Mexico in Nations League, fine. Beat the Ukraine, draw the Ivory Coast, beat Honduras, draw Curacao, beat El Salvador, draw Guatemala, beat Romania, beat Wales, lose to Australia, but they smashed them. Draw Colombia in what was a pretty even game. Like we play Ecuador on Thursday, which I'm super excited for. All my friends are going. I'm very sad that I'm not going to be there. I actually didn't even think that Caicedo would be there, so I probably could have gone and watched Caicedo train if I was home. Yeah, I don't know. I think Canada are like a sneaky fun potential team. What was the questions in here? Speaking of the big boy tournament, will you be making any content during the World Cup? I know you really press against the whole doing YouTube for money thing, but serious business to be done there. Perhaps. I haven't decided really. I am planning to try and attend a lot of games. I am yet to get picked in the lottery to do that, so that's kind of annoying. But I am planning to attend a lot of games. I'm also probably going to apply for a press pass through ASA for a bunch of stuff, so we'll see what that ends up looking like. I've heard World Cup press passes are basically impossible to get, so we'll see. But if that's the thing people are interested in, like non Chelsea things, like maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what people want to do. What are my thoughts on Marsh? I like Jesse Marsh. He's a really nice guy. I've spoken to him a few times. He's like very generous with his time. During COVID, he did like a Zoom for coaching development stuff, and I got to chat with him for a few hours. That was really, really fun. I think he's honest. I think he's like, I think he's a real dude. He is, I think, like as a person, a good guy, and I think tactically there's enough there, particularly for international football. And I think he personally has really bought into like the national identity and is really committed to, like for example, he has this program for his national team staff where every single camp they bring in a coach from a local club, semi-pro, whatever, and just like bring them in to like experience a national team camp with the national team staff. And so they bring in like assistant coaches from the CPL or assistant coaches from League One. Like he I think is a really, really solid coach. So we'll see. I'm just realizing now, while watching this shoddy Chamsadine guy and Bad Rabbits argue, didn't I ban this guy from my chat at one point? Can I do that again? Didn't I boot him last year for saying he was like Chelsea aren't going to make top 4, and I said I bet you they are, and then I banned him? I gotta. I'm pretty sure I remember that happening. No? Does anybody else remember that? I'm pretty sure I did. Let me play with that a little bit. I think that happened. So we'll see when I figure that out again. That would be pretty funny. So we'll see. I think Canada's like a fun dark horse team for this. What's the ceiling on some of the players on our team? Any chance we can make a run for the Premier League or Champions League in a few years when they develop? Yeah, I think it's possible. I think you just gotta add some attacking talent so bad, like the wingers particularly, or the wingers have to develop. But I think there's enough players with pretty high ceiling to get there. I also think like, as much as I think this Arsenal team is very good, I think they are. The problem with being a really good defensive team and being a just good attacking team, which I think is the case for Arsenal, is that you can just get unlucky really easily. Not really, it's not super common, but like you can concede 8 goals more than you're supposed to, and you're cooked. Your season is over. Your season is over. Bulletproof said, I just said we got to buy a left wing, and you were like, nah. No, it's fair. Like, yeah, you did say that, and I did say no. I think, again, the point that I have the point that I have made pretty regularly about this team is like, if you want to take let me pull up FBref. Let me pull up FBref. I think the point that I get to is like, if Chelsea want to be one of the best teams in the league, and again, we have the most goals scored in the league, second behind City, so like whatever. We have to be so we're on pace for what? 76 goals right now. To be the best team in the league, I think you need to score like 85. So like right now we're on pace to have cut like 10 of it. But I think a lot of it is you just need more goals as a team. And I think that's much more right now, much more striker than winger. But I think unless you're going to move on from Gittins this summer, like the winger thing isn't going to happen this summer. Or somehow Neto moves. I don't know. I think this Arsenal team is on a bit of a timer given their squad construction, but they should win at least one soon. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that. Fun Adam Cleary video about how we're somehow both a bit crap and also really close to challenging. I think that's quite accurate. Roshan says our goal output is partly a strength of schedule thing as well. Yeah, that's true. Premier League strength of schedule. There used to be like a website for it. Yeah, this one. What? Let's see. Yeah, like after 11 games, it's not a huge deal. Let's see. Yeah, like on the lower end, but you never know. You never know. Expected Chelsea was the guy in the summer who I saw tweet, it's okay we didn't get Ekatike, Pedro's the real superstar. Listen, I like Expected Chelsea, he's a nice guy. But I think he went through the same I think he went through the cycle, which happens with a lot of analytics accounts, is like they start by doing data stuff, and then the data stuff, they get a big following from all the graphs they post. And then at some point, they're like, actually, I don't want to post all these graphs anymore, and I'm just going to have takes now. And so, like, if you look at Expected Chelsea, right? Again, like the guy. But, like, I see no data. I see no data. I see no data. Just takes, no data. Like, this is the thing, right? Like, it's hard to continue to do. So it just becomes takes. Do I think Michael Edwards' time at Liverpool tends to get overrated? No. I think his time at Liverpool was very strong. We'll see. We will see. All right, get your last questions in. We'll call it a day in 10 minutes, and then we're done. HK says, what are your thoughts on Eze? So I'd heard that Chelsea were pretty into Eze and thought about it, but the price was prohibitive. I think the thing with Eze for me is that ultimately I don't know if there's enough shot production for how little other stuff he does. But I think he's good. The other thing is like he's like pure He's like a little bit older. Like it's a lot of wages, it's a lot of money. I don't know. I wasn't really into that deal. Batter Up says, can a pro soccer player make it in the NFL? He also asked, you said something about Harry Kane. Let me go find it. Completely unrelated. Have you any thoughts on whole footballers could score field goals thing? I saw Kane talking about it. Seems like a perennial what if. Bigly agree with Harry Kane that like many footballers would be very good field goal kickers. For those who are unaware, Brandon Aubrey, who is the best kicker in the NFL right now for the Dallas Cowboys, he played in USL for Toronto FC2 and for Bethlehem Steel, which is the Union 2. He was like a very solid college player. Like he was, I think he was like the 9th overall draft pick, 10th overall draft pick in MLS, something like that. Yeah, very, very solid, like not top level pro, but a decent player. And then afterwards he was like, I should kick. I should learn to kick. And he's now the best kicker in the NFL. So yes, I think very strongly that that soccer players would be very good kickers. How do we get Estêvão and Palmer together? And somebody asked, would I ever play 4-3-3 with Estêvão and Palmer as wingers? Yeah, 100%. I would like to see Estêvão play some left winger minutes. I'd be totally into it. I think that's an option a lot of the time. Ninja Gecko says, which Chelsea player would you trust least if they received the dodgy virus link? Who has the worst IT security practices at Chelsea as a player? Sanchez strikes me as a guy who clicks on some shit. Like Sanchez has clicked on some like boner pill ads for sure. Malo Gusto definitely seems like kind of guy like gets a link telling him that he won $1 million in crypto. That's a guy that I would not be super trusting of. Garnacho, I'm not gonna lie, I love Garnacho. Does not seem like the sharpest tool in the shed. Yeah, probably those three. Liam Delap definitely has like gotten hacked on Instagram. Yeah, probably Garnacho and Gusto, the two that like stand out in my head. Wesley Fofana. By the way, this Wesley Fofana driving thing is so dumb. What an asshole. Do I think Chelsea will go for Nico Williams, Fermin Lopez next summer? Maybe, but I'd be surprised, particularly on Nico Williams. Tanner Tessman was going to kick at Clemson. Yes, that is the story. A couple people saying Tosin. I think Tosin's pretty smart, actually. He strikes me as fairly intelligent. Roshan, did you see the clip where the players had to answer how many miles between London and Azerbaijan? Caicedo said 150 miles. No, I didn't see that. That's hilarious. That's very funny. I'm gonna have to go look that up later. Jonathan Bajomo, Cole would click on anything. I think Cole plays dumb. I think Cole is like not actually a stupid guy. I think he's very happy to be unassuming and just be like, what? Like, I think it works for him. I do want Delap is a mathematical genius. I didn't know that. I would be. Is he good at mental maths or something? I don't know. If you made me guess who the smartest player in Chelsea squad is, that's a more interesting question. Who the smartest guy in Chelsea squad? Joral Hato strikes me as like a smart guy. So does Badiashile. So does Josh. I think Tosin strikes me as like a guy who reads. Tosin strikes me as a guy who like reads a lot of books. Trev strikes me as a guy who's like pretty intelligent. But I'm not gonna lie to you though, like we don't seem like a very smart team, to be honest with you. So I don't know. Delap just knows the trick with cube roots. Yeah, that's I don't know. Doing multiplication in your head is like it's a circus trick. I'm not. I don't think that's whatever. Somebody said ZZZ said thoughts on Danley Jean Jacques because we're getting real MLSy. I really like basically all of Philadelphia's recruitment. Like they just consistently find dudes. And I think these like low end Liga, high end League 2 players, League 2 players are so good for MLS. I just think they're really, really sharp. Really sharp acquisitions from a player recruitment perspective. I like the Union men, really well run team. Ernst Tanner is a really bright guy. Really bright guy. All right, I'm gonna call it there. I'm gonna call it there. Whose bromance is your fave, Enzo Reese or Neto Garnacho or Towson Palmer? I'm not gonna lie to you, I quite liked the Neto Garnacho celebration together. That was fun. I quite like Garnacho celebration. It's a good picture. I don't. Roel Martin says I don't think we had a pastry update. I grabbed pastries yesterday. I got a. Let me see if they have a picture of it on their Instagram today. Hold on. Because I didn't take a picture of it. I got an almond chocolate croissant that was frankly scandalous. And it had like marzipan and Nutella in it. And I'm not normally a big Nutella guy, but I was like, whew, I'm in. Let me see if there's yeah, I don't have a picture. I don't have a picture, and they didn't post one on Instagram. But I got a almond chocolate croissant that was very, very good. Anyways, that's all for me. We'll be back. We might do something in the international break. Somebody talked about like doing Football Manager and just chatting. Maybe we'll do something like that. But we'll go from there. As always, enjoy the soccer.